All right, welcome. Today we're going to tackle two shapes that can feel a little tricky when you're coding graphics, arcs and arrows. But trust me, by the end of this, you'll be coding them perfectly every single time. Let's jump right in.
So, here's the big question, right? It's something that trips up so many people when they're starting out. You need that smooth, precise curve, maybe a perfect slice of a circle. But how do you actually tell the computer exactly what you want? Well, we're going to solve that right now. First up is the arc. Now, it can look a little complicated, but once you get a peek at its DNA, it's actually super intuitive. We're going to break this thing down piece by piece.
Okay, so you see a line of code like this, and at first glance, it's a little intimidating. So many numbers. What could they all possibly mean? It just seems way more complex than, drawing a simple circle.
But here's the secret. Let's compare it to a shape you probably already know really well, the oval. Take a look. Notice anything familiar? Those first four numbers, they're exactly the same. And that right there is the key to unlocking the whole mystery of the arc.
See, this is the main idea. An arc isn't some brand new shape you have to learn from scratch. It's simply carved out of an oval that you defined first. Those first four numbers are just setting up that parent oval, its center coordinates, its width, and its height.
And that's really all there is to it. An arc is just a piece, a segment of a bigger oval. Once that clicks in your head, the rest is easy. It's just about telling the computer which piece of the oval you actually want to draw.
So, how do we tell it which piece we want? Well, that brings us to those two extra numbers at the end of the function. This is where the real magic happens. This is where you get all the control. Let's master these angles.
First things first, we got to understand the coordinate system, because it's a little different from what you might remember from math class. In a lot of graphics libraries, 0 degrees isn't on the right. It's straight up, like 12 o'clock on a watch. And as the angle gets bigger, it moves clockwise. So 90 degrees is to the right, 180 is at the bottom, and so on around the circle.
Now here is the absolute best way to think about these two new parameters. Imagine you're drawing it by hand. The start angle is just the spot on the oval where you put your pen down to begin. And the sweep angle, that's simply how far you drag your pen along the curve. It's really just a simple two-step process. Step 1, start angle tells you where to place your pen. Step 2, sweep angle tells you how far to draw. That's it. That's the whole concept.
Okay, let's see this in action. Here we've got a start angle of 0, so our pen goes down right at the top of the oval, and then we draw or sweep for 90 degrees in a clockwise direction.
Now what happens if we change that start angle to 45? See, the entire arc just rotates. It now starts at that 45-degree mark, but it still sweeps for the same 90 degrees from its new starting point.
And let's do one more. We set the start angle to 90. Now we begin drawing from the far right side and sweep 90 degrees down. You have total, precise control over where your curve begins.
All right, you've got the start angle. Now for the fun part, the sweep angle. Let's lock our start angle at 90, so we always start on the right. With a sweep angle of 45, we get this short, tight little curve.
So what if we double that sweep angle to 90? Boom! The arc extends to cover a full quarter of the oval. We're literally just telling the pen to draw twice as far along the path.
And if we push it all the way to 180 degrees, you get a perfect half oval. So just remember, start angle is your starting point. Sweep angle is the distance. You master those two, and you have officially mastered the arc.
Okay, now that we've totally conquered the mighty arc, let's check out its cousin, the arrow. And I think you're going to love this because after wrestling with angles and sweeps, the arrow is, well, it's wonderfully simple.
Just look at this comparison. On the left, we have a standard boring line. On the right, a line with an arrow. Now look at the code. It's almost identical. The only difference is one little keyword, arrow end true. That's it. An arrow is just a regular line with a special property tacked on. And you've got total flexibility here. You can pop an arrowhead at the beginning with arrow start, put it at the end with arrow end, or you can even have arrowheads on both ends if you want. It's just a super simple, really powerful way to show direction.
And just like that, in only a few minutes, you've added two incredibly useful new shapes to your coding toolkit.
So let's do a quick-fire recap of the essentials.
Okay, here's what you really need to remember. First, and most important, an arc is just a piece of an oval. Don't overthink it. Second, those two angles, start angle and sweep angle, give you all the control you need, where to start and how far to draw. And third, an arrow? It's just a line that knows which way it's pointing. It really is that simple.
So, what looked like complex shapes are really built on simple, easy-to-understand ideas. The power is now in your hands. You've got the tools to create perfect curves and directed lines for any project. So the only question left is, what are you gonna go create? Thanks for watching.